question your leaders. I do not believe this is contempt. The role of a government is to not only represent its people, but to lead. Now, for a moment, just think about that. Think about not only the impression other people around the world feel of you, but what your leaders are doing in your name. Yes, your leaders not only represent you amongst themselves, they represent you to the world. That's a pretty profound thought to me. Just, if you want to pause it and think about that for a minute. What is really interesting to me is how much influence this has over its people. Think of the general perceived attitude of Americans. Arrogant, self-serving, greedy. Just go out and mingle and you'll see what I'm talking about. And you'll see what pretty much everybody else is talking about. Wherever would they get that impression? Could it be the Americans' actions abroad? Just look at the effing evidence. U.S. foreign policy is shit. Preemptive wars against impotent leaders, tolerating genocide, spreading democracy. Spreading democracy? Am I criticizing this? Yes. Look what happened in Palestine after the pullout of Israel. A democratic election in which Hamas was elected. And immediately condemned by the U.S. and pretty much every democratic nation, give or take a few. Israel jumped on this as soon as some militants kidnapped a soldier reoccupying Gaza. What a waste of ballots. What did the world expect? For those of you who don't know, Israel was actually created in 1948, in some of your lifetimes. The Palestinians were given a choice. Live under a Jewish government, which not much good could have came from, or evacuate, and they chose the latter. So after all the years of fighting, given a choice, did the world think that the Palestinians would calmly vote for a government that is friendly to Israel, considering every single of-age voter has heard Israeli bombs explode nearby at some point in their life? Delusions and hypocrisy. Hamas was threatened with sanctions and embargoes should they not denounce their violent past. They were terrorists, but they were democratically elected terrorists. What about everyone else's past? The American war machine makes Palestinian militants look like hippies. So let's get back on the train to the point. How does this affect us at home? I've pointed out that it makes American word abroad sound just without weight. To be mocked even. But what about here at home? Is the government simply displaying the attitudes of its people in itself? Possibly. But is this entirely one-sided? Perhaps American policies abroad reflect an individual thought. What is going on in the world is fed to you every single day, in the newspapers, on TV, and here with me. So to say that this doesn't influence you in some way is stupid. Knowing if the sun is out or not when you wake up can determine what kind of day you have, and how you feel about it. The U.S. is very judgmental and self-righteous. Just look at the death penalty. Yes, in the Bible, it says eye for an eye. But it also says, vengeance is mine. Yep. Apparently God said that too. You have to keep reading. Unfortunately, the hypocrites of the world stopped reading years ago and began writing their own rules and doctrines. Hell, even the Bible has been through several major reconstructions by various organizations. It seems like the license allowing you to call those reconstructions, divinely inspired, expired a long time ago. Why would God keep changing his mind? I attest that whether or not the government influence us or we influence them is of no consequence. It is up to a leader to lead by example, not by being coerced. How grand life would be if you could do whatever you wanted at work simply because you corrupted your boss. Or kissed his ass. No, a responsible leader takes the reins, does what is right and moral, he makes no judgments save for those along moral lines. It is easier to see evil from compassionate eyes than it is to see corruption from greedy eyes. This relates directly to the conflict in Darfur, where differences among nations around the world could easily be set aside just because what's happening is immoral, plain and simple. But the economic implications of saving several 100,000 people aren't positive, necessarily. So why bother? How excited I would be if I lived in a country where I could embrace a soldier who is coming home from stopping a genocide or delivering aid to refugees, for there is no shame in these acts. I admire the soldier of goodwill eternally more than a soldier who fires a gun for my freedom. The sheer act of spreading the message of compassion for humanity commands more respect by example than 1,000 wars in the name of anything. To inflict your ideals on anyone is inherently wrong, but to show them the virtues of morality and compassion by means of action is forever right. No war can be made in the name of compassion and unity. The greatest defense is in numbers. A defense force would be symbolic in this hypothetical nation I speak of, for would-be aggressors would have the rest of the world to deal with first. If only one nation as powerful as the U.S., China, or Russia would lead by example of peace and goodwill, the world would have no choice but to follow suit. It would be the ultimate preemptive move, signifying a foundation built upon solid good nature, which everyone must defend out of sheer principle. Imagine if Sweden were attacked tomorrow. Who would come to their rescue? Well, probably all of the free world. I mean, what a deterrent peace is. Imagine the idiot who would attack them. Yet this totally neutral country seems to fit right in the modern world. Their economy is great. And just go to Wikipedia and type in Sweden, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Now, can the entire world live upon this model? Certainly not until governments realize that economies can be boosted by more than just war. War is an easy way to make money, but really, how many of you out there have fallen for a get-rich-quick scheme? It's likely that your government has. Question them on it. There will always be antagonists, but imagine a world in which the majority of nations are non-aggressive, and their economies are not supported by war. I mean, it's an open border thing. I am accused often of being idealist, living in a dream world. This is false. I am a realist. I have a very cold grasp on reality. But for some reason, I see a path that can lead all nations into a better place. We must start now, that's all. I do not believe in a human utopia. Not within 1,000 years, anyway. But we cannot sit back and say, why should we do anything at all then? Because that is the problem now. We are as much a part of generations to come as we are part of the current society. Societal evolution is slow, very slow. The only thing that can speed it up is effort, and that's not hard, unless you're one of those people who dismiss people like me as liberal idealists, in which case you're far too lazy to think for yourself, much less change the world. Yeah, support your president, he's right. Watch American Idol and call in your vote. Go to work and get a promotion. Don't think about genocide, it might make you sad, or happy if you're a bigoted asshole. Save your money and put your kids through university. They are the future. Whatever you do, don't tell them that they are like everyone else. Some people are less human than them. What would a person from Rwanda need with an education anyway? It's funny. If these people who have been victims of ethnic persecution, wars fueled by blood diamonds that are on your fingers, and been ignored when their brothers were cleansed of the world, ever do rise from the ashes, which they will, Islamic radicals will be your last concern. The headline: The War on Evil African People. I can hear some future George Bush saying that. If we had only stopped the occasional civil war, genocide, by using the tremendous powers afforded to us by our own civil wars, years of perpetual wars, economic advantage, and military might. Hey, there was a time when Christians had to hide their Bibles. It's funny to hear the modern viewpoint that Africans just fight amongst themselves. That's in their nature, so just let them. Well, this happened before the discovery of oil in the Middle East between the Muslims, i.e. Shia and Sunni mainly, but became news when we stepped in and gave them a new enemy. Same thing with Christians in history, and further back, and further back. Let's take this current opportunity to try to prevent more world aggression. Let's try something new. Let's stop hatred against the world from breeding there before it goes too far and before they get weapons and a larger world view. Let's show them that we have evolved beyond petty war for economic gain. Let's give them an example to follow. They know we have more food than we can eat. They know we have more money than we can spend. They also know we aren't giving them any of it. I gotta say, what they are seeing now is pretty fucked up. Really. What impression does it give when we show our advances through military might, rather than how we've evolved as a society? Wait, we have nothing to show for that. We just got bigger guns.
I'm smiling next to you in silent lucidity.